Ladies and gentlemen, hunters and huntresses, this is the Boots and Backstraps podcast.
Come on now.
The hunt is on, looking for backstraps, way deep in the woods, tracking in a swamp to a hay field under the harvest moon. When the tags are filled, it's time to switch up our boots. Head down to the honky tonk, get us a swing dance or two. We're talking about boots and backstraps.
This is the show where we talk all things hunting and country music. From the classics through today, from big bucks to bull elk, we've got it all.
Welcome to the Boots and Backstraps podcast. I am your host, Shane Michael, and I'm joined as always by my co-host and country music legend, Mr. Tom Katt.
Come on now.
How are you doing, sir?
Doing great, Shane.
Good.
Good to see you again, buddy.
Yeah, you too, my friend. So we're back for episode 2.
Wow, isn't that exciting?
It is exciting.
We had a lot of fun last week.
We did have a lot of fun, and I know we're going to have a lot of fun today as well.
Oh, we're going to have more fun today.
Oh, I think we're going to get knee deep into the fun. So real quick, again, just a shout out to our crew before we get started. Now, we don't have Jill with us today, which is why we've got our whiskey already poured. Jill is off doing some other important things, so she's out of studio today. But we do have Killer Kyle, our statistician, with us. So thanks to Kyle for what he does. And, of course, producer Danny and Danny Geo Productions for bringing this whole thing together for us and making sure we look and sound good and all the graphics and video and everything.
I don't know if we're going to, I don't know if she can help us look good.
But she can tweak the color maybe a little,
Right.
like
What do you mean? You look like a rock
Speaking of
star.
looking good.
shave a few pounds off. Yeah, so we can roll right into our guest. And this week, I will let you, Tom, have the honors of introing our guest. It seems like maybe you two, I mean, we certainly know each other, but
Yeah, I
seems
have
like you
an
have a little
old
more
friend
history.
here, ladies and gentlemen. Heidi and I have been friends for many, many, many years. I guess we'd have to calculate when we first met, but
Do
in
we
my
have
opinion, she is absolutely one of the best singers in the Twin Cities. As a matter of fact, we've had her up at the Wee Fest, probably her and her partner Hitchville, up at the Wee Fest probably 6 times, maybe more, 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Somewhere thereabouts. But ladies and gentlemen, we have Heidi Owens with us today from
Hi, fellas.
the group Hitchville.
Thank you for having
Well,
me.
Hitch-
Hitchville, among other things, right?
Oh man, she's
boy.
got a huge history, a wonderful history. And when we first met, who knew? You
Yeah.
knew that you could sing.
Well, I knew I wanted to sing. I mean, whether or not I could, I was like, well, I'm gonna.
That girl. Well,
How you
I'll
get
take
anything
back
done.
to where I'll take you back to where we met.
Can I interrupt for 1
you
second?
bet.
I mean, we got to start this thing right. Let's
Oh,
let's have a
absolutely.
little cheers here to episode 2 and having Heidi in studio with us. Go
Aha.
Gadget Arms.
We are drinking our flavor favorite,
Yeah.
Jack Daniels.
Jack Daniels.
And I'm not a whiskey drinker because I would be saying way too many things I shouldn't in a matter of moments.
And you got to perform tonight.
So, I'm having Bailey's.
Yes.
Well, that's a great topic. We'll have to get into that. But I'll tell you folks how Heidi and I first met. We both worked at a club that is no longer in existence.
Right.
The actual building has been torn down for years. And along with that tear down, a lot of our memories went out
Yeah.
the window. And
No, they didn't.
Well,
We
they
got
didn't go
them.
out the window, but the place where the memories started is
Right.
gone. Club called Alligators out in Maple Grove.
Mhm.
Well, I remember the first day I started working there, and it was the Tomcat Rowdy Cowboy Show, and oh man, that was like the Hog's Breath. It was we did that on a Wednesday night.
Is that now? There was 2 Gators, right?
Right, one at the mall.
And the one that was in Maple Grove, is that the one that had the like big hockey rink shaped dance floor that was
Nope.
like sunken down?
Mm.
No,
Or
it
is
was
that
sunken
just-
down? But it
wasn't
wasn't
like
No, it
oval?
was attached to a bowling alley. Alligators.
Oh yes, yes,
Alligators. Good memory.
yeah. And the DJ booth is kind of like up on one end,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right on the dance floor. It was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Boy, they used to line up there 4 abreast all the way out into the parking lot on a Wednesday night. It was so much fun. Heidi, what did you do there at Alligators?
Well, I bartended actually. That was my that's the job I got there. I was actually when I got the job there, I was told by the manager. We were later told because I worked with two of my best friends to this day.
Yep.
Cheryl and Crystal.
Yep.
You remember those two?
We
They
got pictures.
I got thrown in the back there, and I was supposed to give them a run for their money, and it didn't work that way. We all became like tight.
Really
as-
close
Yeah, we
friends.
were so close. We were like, "Are you kidding me? We'll make this work for us a totally different way, dude. We're not here to compete with each other. We're just gonna make this work." And we did. We did very well together.
If I could get Lenny to do something, this is off camera. Lenny, if you wouldn't mind grabbing my phone, I have a picture of you and myself and Heidi and Crystal and those girls at the Rowdy Cowboy Show reunion. And maybe you could
Come on
text
in.
that to
Your hand is
I'm
going to
gonna
be on
have you
camera.
find
Something's
it.
going to be on camera.
it's that photo. It's a black and white photo, and if you could text
It's
that
that
to,
old.
no, I don't know
Thanks
why
a
it came
lot.
out in black
Thanks
and
a
white.
lot for aging us. That's great.
Kyle made the joke last week that like half of Tom's hunting photos are the one they took with the giant bulb and the smoke came out of it after you press the button.
That's not funny, Kyle.
Not that far from the truth, I'm afraid.
Yeah, at some
It is
point we'll
funny.
get that on the screen. We'll show that picture of it was the Alligators Rowdy Cowboy Show reunion, and it was so fun.
Yes. Well, it was always
I
great
had
to see
way
all
too
those
much
guys
fun.
because we had so much fun together.
Oh god.
So when you say reunion, like how many years was this
Hmm.
of Rowdy Cowboy Show?
Well, I did the Rowdy Cowboy Show
5.
at Alligators for 11 years. 11 years.
Okay,
You were at the reunion.
back in the day
No. This was just
Oh, are you talking
sure.
that when we did? Is that
we
at
did the
Hogsborough?
reunion- No.
where was that?
You were with
Oh,
me
in Maple Grove.
in Maple Grove.
Yeah, what was that place called now? The Lookout.
The Lookout.
Yeah. Okay.
You
Was
were
trying to
there.
Yeah, I was there. I remember.
You were
Oh, yeah.
getting shout outs all night from TK.
Yeah, I did. I did. I got a lot of love that night.
Celebrity call
There
out.
it is, right there.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't believe
there it is.
technology. Look at how fast it.
Yeah,
So
Lynn.
Crystal is the shorter, well, kneeling kind of in the middle,
Yep.
and there's Heidi to her left. I will see I'm behind her, and that's my beautiful wife Lenny. On the
And who's the other gal then?
that is Crystal's daughter.
Okay.
Oh, that's right. I'm like, who
Yeah,
is
she looks
that?
like she's
Yeah.
barely old enough to be in the bar.
She was. Barely Corky.
Yeah,
Courtney.
That was a fun time. Fun
Yeah,
night.
that was a great.
We've
night.
had so much fun together.
We have.
So Heidi went on. She started, and correct me if I'm wrong because I'm wrong often. Ask my wife.
Good
Was
you
your
know that.
first gig solo or was your first gig Boogie Wonderland?
My first, well, the first job, the first band I was ever in, I was in a band that came out of Memphis, Tennessee,
Okay.
and we traveled up and down the East Coast for about a year and a half. And that was the way I had landed in my first band was pretty much a freak accident. Like I had broken my arm and smashed. I was living in California. I had literally broken my arm and smashed my car all in about a 2-week period. And I now couldn't go wait tables while I was trying to do stuff in between.
Because you
and
only got
I-
one arm.
I needed to get the heck out of there. Exactly. I needed to get out for a bit. And I was broke like most people in California when you're out there
Still
searching
today.
for a dream. And I got, my friend was flying me to Memphis on a red eye, and I got in at like 5 a.m. I got home they lived in a warehouse. I'm talking this thing, the middle room was like as big as a football field. This was so big. And the bathroom was all the way across, and it was this tiny little area they lived in, and it was, little space heaters everywhere.
So was it
so
like
that-
a storage unit or something? they were
No, it
living
was a huge warehouse that they
in?
lived
But they only
in.
had one little space of it?
Well, they lived in that whole floor was theirs,
Okay.
but it was huge and you couldn't heat that all. So they
Right.
lived in a section that had like a bedroom and a living room, and the kitchen was so makeshift. You've seen like a toaster oven and, couple burners on top. It was hilarious. But
Wow.
this is what they lived in, and they had one of the rooms was an all band room, and there's foam all over the walls. It was as big as this room. if
Probably had
not
more money in
bigger.
their band room than their
Yes,
apartment.
probably. And he was a keyboard player. Her boyfriend was a keyboard player, and he has a stack of like 9, a tower of like 3 keyboards over here and 3 here and 3 here. And I woke up to him playing something I couldn't even make out. It was horrible. And and he's a great player. So I was like, finally, I couldn't sleep. I was like 10 in the morning. I've had maybe 4 hours of sleep. And I walked in and I said, "What are you doing? This
He's trying
is
to wake you
awful.
up.
This is awful." And he's like, "I have a big audition for a band that plays down on Beale Street in like an hour, and I don't know this song they want me to play. And I can't play," because he played by ear. He did not know, he couldn't
You
read
couldn't read
music.
music, yeah.
Well, lucky for him, I knew the song, and I'm like, "Hey, I know this song." It was like a Vanessa Williams tune. Remember when the princess, the queen, got knocked off of her little perch because she was found in Playboy magazine, so she
Right.
had a music career going for a while, and it was one of her songs. So I sang, he played, and he played perfectly. I mean, you'd never know that he did not know the song. So he said, "When they get here, you're doing that for me, right?" And I was like, "Well, hell yeah, I'm doing that for you." So they got there. He played, got the job immediately. And when we finished, they turned to me and said, "What do you do? What are you doing here?" And I'm like,
You're like, "I'm grifting."
I just got here. I put my 3 boxes of things I owned in an attic before I left California, and I'm doing whatever I want."
Yeah.
And they were like,
Good for you.
"Are
So
you
you
are
weren't-
you open to being in a band?" And I'm like, "Yep, sure
Does it
am."
pay?
I sure am.
You didn't specifically go to Memphis to
No.
be in that band?
No, I woke up that morning and had a job in a band.
That is
So
awesome.
what brought you to Memphis?
My friend, I just needed to get out of California
Oh,
for a little
okay.
while. I was going to go see her and
Oh, your
maybe
friend
find a
was- I gotcha.
job and hang out for a little while. I mean, I was a single kid at 20 some years old and doing whatever I wanted. So
And your friend said, "I've got an efficiency apartment you can stay
yeah,
in."
well, she was my best friend. We'd done Hawaiian Tropic together. You probably actually even met her because we
Okay.
did Hawaiian Tropic together.
I don't know if we dare throw those photos up on the screen.
Yeah. Well, good grief. Talk about white hair and as tan as an individual could get. You could only see me if I smiled. It was ridiculous.
Oh, wow.
But
So that was your first gig.
that was my first gig.
And
I
you
did that for a
travel
year
up
and a half.
down the East Coast?
Up and down the East Coast. We played all over the place, and I learned from some great players. The girl that we kind of, everybody in the band sang, but this girl and I were in the front, and we had to do all these dance moves all night long. So my first gig with them, I thought for sure that's it. They're firing me. I'm never gonna sing again because there was so much to learn, and I was bummed after my first one. I thought for sure they're gonna let me go, and she's like, "Good job. See you tomorrow." I'm like, "What? I'm not fired?" So yeah.
So did
that's
you have
what I
any
did.
like formal singing experience at all before that?
Well, I mean, I had sung
mean,
in
you
high school.
yeah,
I'd
you
done
can't
all the
count choir.
competitions, and I'd done a bunch of musicals, and
Okay, so yes.
I had sung like through college a little bit. Never had I been in a band or.
And that's a whole different animal,
That's
right?
a whole different animal.
Yeah.
Whole different animal. But
You
that's
mix
what
a
I
smoky
wanted
bar
to
and some
do.
booze into it.
Yeah.
So
So
at what point did you move back to the Twin Cities and start up with Boogie Wonderland?
I was dating a guy while I was on the road that actually had a father that worked for Northwest. So everywhere I went, he could fly for like $20.
Oh, wow.
So
Nice.
he followed me all over, and he was from here, and I'd met him just before. I had to come back and sing in a wedding before I went and started with them. So I'd met him while I was back, and then he was visiting me, and then I came back I was in Memphis for a short time because that's when I got pregnant.
Hey,
Oh,
this is
yeah,
free
and
form.
then-
This is free form. You just go with it.
Yeah, we were gonna get married, and then we found out a baby was coming, so then we got married sooner.
Sure.
And then
Hit fast forward.
then I moved back to Minnesota because that's where grandparents were.
Okay.
Sure.
This is probably all the parts I'm not supposed to tell, but that's the truth. So
Yeah.
there you go. I'm kind of an open book. You want to know? There you go.
That's why you're here.
And so then I came back here, and I had a couple babies. Didn't sing for a while, and I kind of, once my second one was 2 years old, I was like, I really am missing singing.
I bet.
And I didn't really know many people in Minnesota at that particular. I mean, I'd lived here my whole life, but I didn't know who was singing or what was going on. So I started venturing out to clubs where there was live music. And one of the very first nights I went out, I was at Bunkers. That's the one that's in Minneapolis.
Minneapolis, yeah.
And
Princess Club.
Mick Sterling happened to be there that night.
Oh yeah.
Don't ask me why, but I got the balls to walk up and say, "Hi, I'm a singer. Do you need me for anything?"
There you go.
And,
You don't ask, you won't get.
and he said that he had a new album coming out, and actually he could use some backup for it, and he needed me to come to the studio. And next thing you know, I'm singing on his album, and I don't know if I actually sang on his album. I just sang with him live when he was running around singing songs from his album. I can still remember some of the songs because I loved them. I thought they were great. And after I did that, I kind of ventured into subbing for people. And then the next thing you know, I was also bartending at that time too, kind of filling in gaps, trying to. And I ended up, and I happened to work at a club, a gentleman's club actually. And there was a night we were doing.
You were
all the-
bartending.
Yes, I was. I
Yeah.
bartended at this place. Thank you. Thank you very much. I wore a shirt.
I was clothed.
and, and a thong, but I had a shirt on. Damn
There
it.
you go. There you
And
go.
this particular night we were throwing a party for the VIPs, and we had this band called Boogie Wonderland. And literally after a while, I found out later this was like their second gig they'd ever done, and they weren't even getting paid. They were getting paid like food and drink. So
Sure.
Oh yeah. Sure.
so
We've all been there.
Oh yeah.
and they were playing, and I somehow, because that evening was kind of a free for all and people I wasn't behind the bar all night. I could run around and play, and I was good friends with the manager, and his lawyer was there that evening, and he said something like, "I heard you're a singer. Can you sing something for me?" And we were upstairs and the DJ was playing something, and I ran over and grabbed the mic and said, "You mind if I sing something?" He said, "Nope, go ahead." So I ended up singing Crazy, Patsy Cline.
Crazy.
Oh wow.
And I finished. I got down out of the booth, and they were being generous and giving me a hand and whatnot. And this guy walked up to me and he said, "Do you know who was just singing?" I said, "I might know." And he said, "Well, we're looking for a new singer." I mean, they'd only played 2 gigs, I found out later.
So wait. So they want to replace the singer that they had
Yeah,
for their first 2
because
gigs.
for their first 2-3, they weren't even sure if she'd show up because she had one of those boyfriends that was jealous and wouldn't let her go to
Oh.
work. And
That's not good for the music
no,
business.
not
No,
good.
no.
So they were having trouble, counting on her, and they weren't crazy about her. They were having all kinds of drama issues. So they were looking for a singer. And
And you did not have baby daddy drama, right?
I did not have nope, I had 2 babies at home, and I was doing what I needed. He was cool about go sing. That's what you love to do. So
Yeah.
I went to an audition for them, sang a couple songs, and they were like, "Kate, we want you." And then, I mean, at that particular point, they'd sung that particular gig in a bowling alley, and that's what they'd done. And so
Well, they sure became quite a hit.
well, we started singing. That was I sang with them. It was a couple weeks later we had our first gig, and then we got a house gig at Lucky's, I believe it was called, in downtown Minneapolis, just across from the Fine Line.
Yep.
And we started playing there on Fridays and Saturday nights. And within about a month of playing there Fridays and Saturday nights, there was a line that would go down the block and around the corner.
Nice.
And this place held like maybe 300 people. And it was crazy. Every single time we played, this line was down and around the block. We were like,
You know a little something about that, don't you, TK?
I do.
that was fun.
Fortunately.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
That was loads of fun. I was still at that particular time trying to, I'm in a band full of 6. There's 6 of us, and I'm the only female. And the idea the guys had is
There they are.
nobody stands out. Nobody's the star here. So
Yeah, you all had different roles.
well, we all had
So
to
what we're-
switch places on stage.
Just for the audio, because we're broadcasting on a lot of audio only platforms.
Okay.
We have video and audio. And so for those folks that are not watching on a video platform, we've got a photo of Heidi with I assume this is either early or the original Boogie Wonderland
This is
cast.
Boogie Wonderland. This is us.
That's
Yep.
a great picture though.
That was like our promo shot for a long time.
It's a cool picture.
Yeah,
You're the only one not wearing a wig.
I am the only one. I did too much running around for a wig to stay on my head.
Good observation.
Thank you.
And
I mean, that's what you're paying me for, TK.
the only one not wearing a wig, although they wanted me to. They wanted me in a giant fro, and I was like, yeah, no. But I mean, we all took names from like somebody from the 70s, right? So everybody got a name from like a show that was from the 70s, or I mean, a lot of people thought mine sounded like a porn name, but whatever.
What was your name?
It was Christy Love.
Oh, that's right.
And there was a show on at the time. It was kind of it was the first Black woman in a lead role. It was called Get Christy Love, and she was a detective.
Oh yeah.
I know
And-
exactly what
And the
you're talking about.
resemblance was uncanny, so we went with it. So, but I mean, seriously, that's
They
everybody
must have
had
saw
a
your
name.
Hawaiian Tropic pictures.
Well, we
Oh,
had
there you go.
Dwayne Dupree. That's
Christy
an
Love.
album I made during that time, and it was we
have
called it
that
Covered
CD.
because it was all cover tunes. Ha ha ha.
That's a cool coat though. I like that.
Still have it.
Do you?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
still
good for
fits
you.
even.
Oh, I have no doubt.
I can't close it, but I can
So
still
th-
put it on.
We've got a photo here of Heidi's disc, the cover for her disc.
Yeah.
You know, can you leave that on the screen? Say, Lynn, I'm going to have my wife go back to this drawer behind me, and I think there's a scrapbook in there, and I think
You have this?
I have a picture of us and a bunch of the gals from Hawaiian Tropic.
You do?
I've got a bunch of those old photos. I couldn't tell you exactly where they are.
Oh,
but I
Hawaiian
think
Tropic
there
was a
might be one
blast.
back there.
That was a treat in itself. I met so many, like, holy cow, doing Hawaiian Tropic,
No.
meeting Ron Rice, who owned Hawaiian Tropic.
Oh, okay.
And then he
I might have thrown that one away
flew me
for
to
fear my
Florida.
wife would get upset.
Was there like another competition in
There
Florida?
was a competition going on in Florida, and I'd only taken first runner up in that, so I wasn't a winner. So he was like, but I want you to come. I want you to come, and you just get yourself here, and I'll take care of everything. Well, while I was there, because I didn't have to compete, I got to hang out with all the stars.
Oh,
So,
What was
cool.
his name? The guy that owned-
Ron Rice.
Oh, yeah.
Ron
He
Rice.
was actually a pretty nice guy.
He was a great guy.
Yeah.
He was a super nice guy. He
We-
called me the Easter Bunny. So
we had Ron and probably a dozen of the Hawaiian Tropic girls, all the national winners at the Calhoun Beach Club back in the day. And we all had a big dinner there. And I thought he was a pretty nice guy.
he's a really nice guy.
You know,
He was.
being in the business he was in, you would sometimes maybe expect him to be a little shady.
Like
but-
greasy,
Yeah.
but he wasn't.
No, he wasn't.
No.
He was really nice.
Yep,
That's good.
He was really, really cool.
That's good
Yeah.
for you, especially,
yes.
contestants, because you want to feel like, all right, I'm doing this because I want to, not because I want some guy pawn on me.
Right. No, he wasn't like that at all.
I probably
think-
interrupted.
Well, the first time I ever met him,
Uh,
he had all of the girls that were in the competition that were in the finals in Minnesota, and he took
Mhm.
us all out to dinner.
right.
And I showed up in some white dress thing from it's the 80s.
Red
so-
carpet dress.
It was the 80s, so please imagine that it was probably some shoulder pads and stuff like that. and I showed up, and he looked at me and he goes, "You look like the Easter Bunny." And at first, you're like, "What is that supposed to mean? Like, huh? Fluffy? I look fluffy? What are you saying?" And at first you're like, "I'm the Easter Bunny," but that's how he knew me, and I didn't realize how cool that was going to be, because anytime I called him, all I had to say was Easter Bunny, and he knew immediately who it was, because
Oh,
I mean, he meets millions of girls
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
and knows so many, and how do you keep all their names straight? But
You made an impression.
having a nickname meant that he always knew who I was. It was awesome. I didn't realize that was going to be so awesome.
Well, bunnies have another connotation.
Right. Well,
Well, we
I
had an
don't know how-
iteration.
I don't know how he could have known that.
Oh,
I didn't
funny.
share that.
We in our sort of version of the Rowdy Cowboy Show, after TK hung it up, created a program with Jill's help, and she's not here for me to give her kudos, but with Jill's help, that we called the Buckle Bunnies, because it's a play on words in the rodeo circuit. If you're familiar with this, the rodeo riders, the male rodeo riders, call gals that chase rodeo cowboys Buckle Bunnies.
Okay.
And so what we did is we started this like beverage program within Rowdy Cowboy Show, where we would bring these gals dressed in sort of like
Chaps,
sexy
boots.
cowgirl stuff,
Yep.
a little skin, but not too much.
Mm-hmm.
And they would serve shots or sell shots for the bar during our show. And we called them the Buckle Bunnies. And it was cool. So for years,
really
we would
cool.
do these gigs all over the region. And these bars would say, can we also have that? Because it was like an add-on. They would have to pay extra for it. And
Right.
very rarely did they say, no, we don't want that. And we sometimes get, and you can appreciate this, we'd get pushback from the bartenders, because they'd be like, well, then I'm not getting to sell those shots
Right.
and making those tips. But we always sort of like took the diplomatic approach of saying, well, we're going to do pre-poured recipes that we created, and then you can still do all your, Red Bull whatever mixers and then the shots you normally do. And we've got some Jack Daniel's specific shots that they'll be selling, and that way you don't have to sit there and try to feed their trays all night. You just pre-pour, then they'll fill up the shot trays, and you can just handle the people at the bar.
And honestly, I mean, it's hard for women to look at things this way, but if they would look at it like the more females there are, the more people it's going to attract.
Absolutely.
And when you do that, there's more people at your bar to serve a drink to. So
A lot of people in that industry don't look at the big picture.
No.
They don't get it.
Right.
no, they feel intimidated or
Right.
like, well, how am I going to do that? Yeah. And it was kind of sad because that was kind of the approach with the girls behind the bar at Alligators. We were like, there's 3 of us here. We're taking advantage of this
Yeah.
whole blonde thing,
Oh
let's
yeah.
work this. And we
You
had a
can't get
blast
around
together.
it, so you might as well make some money.
We had a blast together. Like
Having
my
fun
best
is
friends to this day.
Contagious, and the more fun you're having, the more money you're making.
That's true.
It's
Absolutely.
just the way it works.
Yeah.
So
How did-
Heidi, I
No.
lost track of you for a long time after Alligators, and you were doing the East Coast and you were doing Boogie Wonderland. Do you remember where we came across each other again?
Oh,
I vividly remember it.
you do?
Oh yeah, you were with Boogie Wonderland.
I
You
won't.
were performing. And
Okay.
someone came up to the front of the stage
Was this you?
and they hollered.
Did you go up there and show her your boobs, TK?
Hey, and they yelled, "Hey, Skit!" Is that what you're
I
gonna
said,
say?
"Hey, biscuit!" And he stopped right in the middle of a song and started laughing. And he looked down. I don't even think you ever got back to your place.
I
in the song.
probably couldn't. I bet I didn't.
We were at.
Hey, biscuit.
it's-
Yes.
Well, that was a.
that was
a
from his Rowdy
nickname,
Cowboy days. Where that was his nickname for me when I would show up at his shows.
Biscuit.
Actually, that's what my friends called me, and you adopted it because I would do some of your contests, and they would scream that, and then you were like,
Yeah,
"Hey,
that
I
sounds
like
more
that.
like
I'm
it,
gonna
yeah.
do. I'm hanging on to that," and he has never let it go. Never.
Oh, I was famous for giving nicknames, so I didn't remember doing that for you, but I've given out a lot of nicknames over the years.
I have a brother that does.
Trigger
that.
still goes by Trigger to this day.
I don't know where they come from. They just pop into your head. Well, so that's how we reconnected, and it wasn't much of a we spent maybe an hour that night just visiting after you were done, and
Right.
then the next time we touched base, you were with a new band. What was between Boogie Wonderland and Hitchville?
Well, okay, so while I was in Boogie Wonderland, I, as this happens in the music industry a lot, you end up with sometimes people that get themselves some addictions.
Oh,
And I was in a band full of guys that were having trouble with coke at
Sure.
the time. Now they would probably never admit, well, maybe they'd admit it now because so many years have gone
Right,
by
right.
and people get okay with talking about more things like that. But there was so much drama all the time. And I was the girl thinking, aren't I supposed to bring the drama? What the heck is going
how
on?
am I the
here?
level-headed one?
Like, why in the world do I have to deal with this after every show? It was, we'd have a great show and thousands of people, and it would be just awesome. I mean, this is the point where the band had kind of morphed into, okay, because I sang all the female leads, and there was so many of them compared to all the guys singing all their other leads, that I ended up in the center most of the time, and it just became our thing. It just became how it's how people like, it's how we sold. So I became kind of the centerpiece, which was never their intention. So there was always a little bit of
Jealousy.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Probably could have expected it though, like you said, if you're the only female and they're doing whatever the percentage of female songs are,
Right. Right.
naturally you're going to
Well,
be.
it didn't start that way, but as that started to become something that seemed to be working for us.
Started seeing nuts to butts on the dance
right.
floor.
And you started, and you know, I
Nuts to butts.
Nuts to butts. Never heard that before?
I have.
Stack them in, brother.
Just wanted to make sure our listening crowd heard exactly what you said.
Yeah, nuts to butts. I didn't make that up. I
Right.
can't take credit for it.
Right. Well, yes, it was. I mean, and I had kind of found myself doing that. I'd stopped worrying about how I'm going to look, or am I going to look like an idiot if I'm jumping around or doing this or I just started letting myself love what I
Good
was
for you.
doing and feel the music
Yeah,
and
good for you.
do my thing. Instead of worrying about, will I look stupid if I jump here? Or will I look, I let it all go and I just did my thing. So it was working for us. Really, it was working pretty stinking well.
Some people would disagree with me, but I think that was one of the greatest times in our history for music.
Oh,
I loved all those great old songs.
me too. I actually still do. It's like
Yeah.
I sang those for years, and you would sometimes when you sung something for a long time, you're kind of like, ugh, over it. But all those I hear and I crank and I feel all that energy again every
I
single
hear ya.
time.
As a disc jockey, I could probably tell you. You could throw a song and I could tell you how many beats per minute it was. I loved all those old songs.
Yep.
Spent so much time doing it.
Yep, and I loved them too. And
Yeah.
I enjoyed singing them and I had just a blast doing that. That was a great time. But when you're working with a bunch of the more that, I had to deal with that, I just couldn't do it anymore. There was a point where I was like, this
Like you
is
get emotionally
exhausting.
spent. Yeah.
Yeah, I was exhausted. I was
Yeah.
exhausted from the emotional roller coaster all the time.
You're like playing
So
babysitter every gig.
I felt like it, yes. So my manager encouraged me to try. She's like, you're the lead singer here, and this name should go with you. And I don't think you'll ever have any trouble keeping it. So why don't you just leave? And I was like, yeah, that scared I mean, I loved
Selected.
what was going on with all of us. I mean, we had we first of all, we were a family and everyone was a character,
Right.
and they had all morphed into these things that you wanted. And she's like, you can put anybody in these wigs, they're not going to know. As long as they got some stage something going on, it's going to be fine. So I took a leap and I was like,
Really? You did that?
I did it. I was like, I'm going to leave this band and I'm going to see if I can't manage to hang on to the name. So it was a court battle. And
How did the
I-
conversation go with you having to tell the band it's time for me to go?
it's time for me to go and I want the name? Didn't go very well. They were like, no, you can't have the name. We started this. And like I said, they'd had
But
2 gigs. And by
But
the
whoever
time,
they had before you, she didn't have Christy Love, right?
no.
Yeah. So
No, and I said, but we have now been doing this for 10 years. And you know, as well as I do, if we're going to be honest here, like if I could count on you guys to like quit doing this, then I wouldn't go anywhere because I love this.
mhm.
But it wasn't going to work that way. So then there was a court battle, and we had lawyers, and I remember that first week when you're picking a jury.
My goodness.
It took us almost 2 weeks to get a jury because we couldn't.
Voir dire, right?
Yeah, well, because they didn't want anybody that knew who the people in the band were,
Well,
and
good luck with
took us
that.
that long to find enough people that didn't love, didn't know who Boogie Wonderland
Yeah.
was. So that was kind of like, wow. I don't know if it was quite. It was at least a week that we had to go through finding a jury, and then it was another like week and a half, almost 2 weeks in court. And by the time we finished with we were the plaintiffs. So by the time we finished with that, we felt like this is a slam dunk. And then their turn. And first of all, I couldn't talk about the fact that there was drugs in the band. That was hearsay. So the one reason I
How
was
is it hearsay if
leaving,
you personally experienced it?
I didn't understand that. I still to this day didn't understand that part. I was like, how in the
This
world?
is the reason I'm leaving.
This is exactly. How do I talk about why I'm leaving if I can't talk about why I'm leaving? So, and they were like, well, do you have proof? And I'm like,
You witnessed
can
it.
I tell you that I've wiped white powder off their noses before we went up on stage? Isn't that, can I tell you I've watched it? No, you can't. That's all. So I was like, so then it was on just merits of who did people identify the band with for the most part. So that's what I was trying to win on. And then it was their turn, and they came up with some really good points. And then they brought up some people that said that they had paid us this amount of money. And I knew because I was the one that collected every night that we had not been paid that. So I knew at that particular moment, the manager had been stealing from us for God knows how many years.
Boy, that's a
Not
good-
your personal manager,
Yeah,
but the band.
the band's manager. And
that's
I didn't
not-
have a personal manager. She was the whole band's manager.
and she's the
but
one that
she
came
was
to
my
you and
best
told
friend.
you you could.
Yeah, she
How
was
many
my
times
best
have you
friend.
heard that in history?
Oh yeah.
So we're
What?
sitting in court, and I'm finding
Britney
out.
Spears is going through that right now with her
That-
parents, right?
Yeah, I'm finding out that my best friend sitting next to me for the last 7 years of my life has been stealing.
And she's like literally sitting next
And
to you in
she's
court.
and she's on my side. So I'm a goner at this point. I lost. I lost, and I think all of them got paid back to some degree. I never saw a dime of it, and that was and that I spoke to her one other time after that particular case, and pretty much never again.
So did you? I mean, was there a confrontation between the two of you to say, I didn't know about any of this?
Yeah, like a slight one, because that particular day we were leaving, and I'm like, "How could you do this?" And she said, "It was just that one time, and it was because we put ruts in the ground, and I had to pay them because we ruined the ground at a natural which was they had us there, and there was
Like
there
a
was
natural amphitheater.
yeah, I was like, and we'd left ruts from our truck that came in to bring the equipment, and that's what she claimed she had to pay, $4,000 for, or whatever it was. And
It smelled a little like BS.
yeah, and at that particular point I realized this has probably been going on for about something the guys had said to me a few times. I just couldn't believe that would ever, no way, she's my best friend. This couldn't happen.
So moving forward, what happened? They wound up with a name.
They wound up with the name.
And then what
And I
was
had
your
to go off and
transition?
I did this thing called, I couldn't use the name. That was part of the deal. I was not allowed. I kept Christy Love, but I couldn't say anything Boogie Wonderland.
Right.
So for a transition period, I called myself Christy Love and you know who. So-
That's pretty clever,
So you
though.
put together another band?
Yeah, well, I got some more guys, and I played quite a few private gigs and stuff like that. And
What were you guys playing though?
I was playing some clubs, but mostly I was playing private events.
I mean, as far as genre.
Oh, I was playing all the disco. I was doing all my stuff.
Okay.
And one of the guys had come with me. The bass player
Oh.
had come with me.
Okay.
And one of the guys, another one of the guys, the keyboard player that wasn't the original but had been playing with us for a few years, came with me too. So I had a couple of my guys, and then I replaced the ones that I needed to.
Plenty of guitar players and drummers
Yeah,
and all that stuff.
Yeah, but I found some great guitar players, but they didn't have the energy on stage that I needed. So that was a little bit rough. But
yeah.
that was a rough time. It really, really was. And I ended up with a gig. I got called to do a gig for somebody else, and it was going to be in Hawaii. It was a corporate gig, and he had called in 2 other singers, and that's when I met Matt.
That's when you met Matt.
That's when I met
That's
Matt.
what I was waiting to hear. I was like, did you go right from Boogie Wonderland to Matt, and then
Nope.
Hitchville? Okay.
We ended up in a corporate gig together. We were singing in Hawaii for this big, huge tire company doing a 50th anniversary, and the gentleman we worked for was putting together a 50th anniversary show, and he needed a couple more singers with his already 4 to make sure the show never stopped. It was like a continuous show with video and the whole 9 yards. And so
Were you guys singing together in that gig?
he put us together a lot. We sang a lot of country in that show. We sang a lot of country with another girl in that show, and our heart, like the 3 of us would sing together, and it was like
butter.
we were all blown away. We were all like, whoa,
It was like
that
music.
sounds
Because you
awesome.
and Matt sound fantastic together, obviously.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Well,
You
that
bet.
is where we found out that we sounded pretty good together.
I mean,
So-
there's something to be said, not to sit here and blow smoke up your ass, but
well, go ahead.
we'll blow a little smoke in your ass. There's something to be said for harmony in general. Like harmony, I'm a huge fan of, and
Right.
that's one of the things I'm most critical about with most local bands,
Right.
is they have zero harmony or almost no harmony,
Right.
Mhm.
and it's not to get on a tangent. Although we are allowed, this is free form conversation.
Right.
It's seriously it pisses me off when I go see a band and you see that sound tech set up 5 mics at the beginning of the night, and that bass player or the rhythm player, they walk up next to their mic, like maybe they want their breathing on the recording or something, but they never actually sing. Or if they're singing, you can tell they're not singing because their mouth isn't opening.
Right.
And it's like, why do you have a mic? Why did the live guy set that thing up if you're not going to use it?
Right.
Like, you need harmony, and that's when we've gone since kind of getting out of the business for the most part.
The first time I
That's one of the
heard
things I'm
real-
always critical of, is you need more harmony. But so anyway, one second,
Okay.
to go to you guys, the first time I heard you and Matt sing together, I was like, no, that is harmony, where your voices were meant to go together, because you can pick a third and a fifth and put them together, and okay, now you have harmony. But that's not like 2 voices that literally just sound like butter together, like you guys.
Thank you.
It's fantastic. And we've got a photo here, of you two, on the screen for
Yeah.
those
That
folks
was
that
our
are.
first album. That's our first album cover.
And his hair hasn't changed since.
Not really. No. I mean, sometimes
It's
it gets,
longer.
sometimes it gets bigger,
Yeah.
and sometimes we all wish, hey, you need to not look like a Sasquatch. Can we go maybe see the barber?
Matt.
So
I want to say that the first time I recognized harmony, I probably heard it when I was a little kid, but when I was a teenager, for the first time I heard the Beatles.
yeah.
I'm like, I didn't know why I loved them so much when I first heard them. And then later on in life, I realized it's the harmony.
Yeah.
I didn't have a conversation with anybody.
Yeah.
And I just saw a documentary on the Beach Boys. And, the bands that really are huge really get harmony.
Yep.
And
The ones that were most popular here, kind of in that era, like the High Noon and the Killer Hayseeds and all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
even Westbound, to credit them,
Yep.
it was always about the harmony.
Yep.
They always had 3 and 4 part harmonies, sometimes, where they'd overlap and have a 5th guy in there. But that was what made the difference between them and other acts.
Right. Well, we were huge Little Big Town fans, and so that was a huge influence for us.
Amazing.
And
Still can't believe they didn't get more credit. I mean, Lady Antebellum got more popular. What happened there?
well, they were pretty dang good too.
Yeah, but not
They've
Little
got
Big
some-
Town good.
Yeah, not
Big
Little
Town
Big.
was-
4-part harmonies, like
they've gotten a lot of credit in recent history.
Yes.
they took
Oh, yeah.
forever for
They
them
took,
to win awards,
it took
though.
like
Yeah.
10 years for them to really
Right.
get the recognition they deserve.
Right.
I
But
remember having them at the Wee Fest and walking out, and I said, we've had you here a number of times before, but you guys have really become country royalty. I
Yeah.
remember talking to them about that.
and they were
really
super
have.
friendly. There's
Oh.
they have a picture back there that we
Oh,
there
there you
they
go.
are.
There you are.
We actually played a festival with them, and the headliner that night, his
Is that Luke on that far
that's
side?
Luke Bryan before he was big.
Sure.
That's funny.
He played right after us.
I don't
and
see any
then-
rhinestones on his jeans, though.
No, no,
No
he
blingy yet.
No, he wasn't shaking it quite the same at the time. And that's
This
that
was
was-
backstage at WeFest?
that wasn't Wee Fest. This was a something we did in Somerset. I think that was
Oh.
I can't remember what that festival was
That was
called. I'm terrible. at
Randy and I started that festival in Somerset.
You did?
Yeah, country. It was country.
See, I can't remember. There's so
Was
many.
that Float Right Park?
Summerfest or something, maybe.
The first
Yes, at
year we
Float
did
Right
that,
Park.
we had Alan Jackson, Eddie Rabbit. Oh, that was
Oh,
so
man.
cool.
Oh yeah.
Restless Heart.
Wow. And
yeah,
Hitchville.
That was later,
and,
baby.
it wasn't a huge success. It wasn't.
That's because you didn't have Hitchville yet.
It's true.
Oh,
That's it.
so speaking of blowing smoke,
Pass it around.
So then you and Matt met in Hawaii.
we met in Hawaii, and
And-
because we sung together on those songs, and we realized as we were doing it, we're like, okay, like you said, I mean, you can sing harmonies with people, but when your voices have the same timbre
Yep.
and there's just something about how, like, you don't have to even work at it. They just sound like razor, like they just did. And we were like, whoa,
Can I ask you a semi-personal question?
please.
When you and Matt sang together the first time, did you look at each other like, holy shit?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah,
was
I can
kinda like-
imagine.
Well, when you know the song well enough to zone
Lock
into
it
your
in.
part, yeah, lock it in, and you're singing, and you look at each other, and you're like,
You're matching up breath and
freaking,
everything.
we just blew the doors off that one, dude.
That has got to be a
Like,
wonderful
just
feeling.
goosebumps.
Oh, it's
right?
a freaking awesome feeling. It
Yeah.
is. And the girl that was singing with us was right in there with, I mean, we started the band with 3 of us. We did.
Hitchville had 3 to begin
We
with.
did. We had
Okay.
2 girls and a guy. We started
Lucky
that
Matt.
Really?
We did. Uh-huh. We sure did. And she our first I was the one pushing. I pushed hard. I was like, "Hey, you guys, we need to start a band."
Well, you're the seasoned touring professional at that point,
And
right?
well, she had been touring. She had been touring with Tom Petty and had sung back up for
What?
Stevie Nicks.
What?
She had been playing with all those, so she was used. But
I knew Shayna.
and she'd done some she'd done some singing for the band that the one that we went to Hawaii with. She was in that group.
Okay.
So when we all sang together, yes, when we got back, I was like, "Hey, we need to start a band."
We got a
And
thing.
country is, I think country is at that particular time,
Right.
I felt like country was growing. I felt like, okay, we've had the Shania Twain and the Garth Brooks, and it's starting to really get some.
Those were getting
It's starting
huge.
to get huge. It's starting to get more mainstream. It's like more people are.
Blake
tuning
probably
in,
had long hair back
listening.
then.
Yeah, right. So
I think
he
Blake
did.
was a little
I
later
think-
on, but I've got a photo. I wish I had it on the screen of myself with Blake Sheldon when he had hair past the shoulder.
The
There's-
long curly hair.
Is that when he had the mullet?
Kind of, yeah, but it wasn't really really look like a mullet, like a Billy Ray Cyrus mullet. But it was just kind of long hair, but it was all mostly behind him. And he's tall.
Yes, he
But
is.
The other gentleman standing next to us was Trace Atkins.
Oh, which is
Who's
even
a
taller.
monster.
I
Yeah,
was,
well,
was doing a
Trace is a
pirouette.
monster of a human being, though.
Oh,
He's not just
man.
tall.
Yeah, he's a big
I was standing
dude.
between them, and I was on my very tiptoes, and I was still way shorter than them.
And you're looking at the photo going, did they bring their kid to work that day?
I said,
They brought
Trace,
the guy to put their drinks on.
I said, Trace, do you mind if I have a photo with you and Blake? He said, excuse me. He said, absolutely. And then he looks over at Blake. Blake, get your ass over here before I come over there and knock your block off.
That's awesome.
Oh, fun.
That is awesome.
So you had 3 girls and 2 guys? Is that what I heard
Yep.
you say?
And it was very short lived.
And
But
then-
we rehearsed at my house for probably 2 solid months with all the vocals. Like we were dead set on making sure these things were nailed before we went to find players because we wanted them to know how serious we were about this sounding good.
Who was the 3rd girl?
Yeah, you weren't taking any weekend warriors. You wanted like professional.
We wanted the best. We were like, if we're gonna sound this good, they gotta sound this good. We can't. There
Right.
can't be a mismatch here. So we have to have best.
Gotcha.
2 girls and Matt, yes. And that didn't last very long. It was probably about 3 gigs that we did together because she was about to go on the road with Stevie Nicks again for a while. And she said,
What, she turned you guys down for Stevie Nicks?
yeah,
What a
right?
bad career move that
Well-
must have been.
Well, she was going to be gone for like a couple of weeks and then it turns into it might be a couple of months and then it could be longer and it just depends on how long the tour goes. And I'm like, we're brand new. We can't start this and do this and then suddenly we
Back up
have
every other
another
gig.
person come in when we're establishing this thing,
Yeah,
right?
right.
So yeah, and I pissed her off too because at a couple of our early shows, because we were so dead on stage, I would kind of dance around, flit around and hang out with the guys and do things to liven up the stage, and that really upset her.
She was
So,
used to just standing in the back.
Yeah, I think a little bit more of everybody's in front of their mic and you don't do.
I don't do anything except the doo-wop, Heidi.
Well, I mean, it's
You
not that
needed
she
a
couldn't do.
choreographer.
It's not that she couldn't do those things, but she didn't appreciate that I was off and she decided that she didn't like me very much and then she went.
So after that,
Yeah.
I have another vivid memory. I don't remember where it was, but you said to me, wherever we saw each other again, I didn't know you were involved with the Wee Fest. Do you
And
remember
can
that?
you believe that? I mean, the guy was the
We've been friends for all these years.
host for how many millions?
Well,
35.
total
Yeah.
35, but at the point when you came to me, it was I don't know, I've been doing it for at least 20 years,
Right? And I
And-
didn't know.
and you didn't know that. And so
Then you
We-
realized you had an in for the week.
I did. I'm like, hey,
Get
I
over here.
got a band for you.
You looked at him and said, "Hey, biscuit."
so do you remember what happened next?
No, but I
You
can't
had to
believe that
audition.
you can.
We're in St. Cloud.
It's like a steel trap over here.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's just
almost-
fun to
It's a
actually
little bit scary.
at my age remember things.
I keep seeing these moths fly out of your ear as you open different sections of the vault in there.
So we went up to the red carpet.
Mhm.
St.
We were
Cloud.
doing the
That's a good room.
St.
That's a
Cloud,
great room.
the
Played it
radio
so
station
many
up there
times.
had a huge CMA party at the Civic Center
Oh,
up
there's
there.
some bells that are going off right
And
now.
They had hundreds and hundreds of people, and it was people would try and pick the winners, and they had all these jumbotrons going. And being they were one of our big sponsors at the Wee Fest, I'd be a guest host.
Yeah.
And
They could promote it that way. Tomcat
yeah,
of the
we
Wee
would
Fest.
always, it was, when the CMAs are held in
Yep.
September,
Yep.
we would announce our headliners at the CMAs in St. Cloud,
Okay.
because we'd try to book them obviously a year in advance. Some years we had them booked the same weekend as the Wee Fest. Anyway, we had a big party that night, and you and Matt were there. And I said, okay, I introduced you to Cheryl Sparks, one of our partners, and we were up there. And I said, here's your opportunity. I introduced you to Cheryl. And she said, well, can you sing? Right there on the red carpet. You lit her up. She was like, and
Do you remember what you
she's-
sang?
you
Tom,
don't
what did she
remember
sang?
that?
I
We're-
remember this
You
now that you're
sang,
saying
Matt
it.
and you
But
sang
yes,
acapella.
we did, and I don't remember.
Oh,
what the
Matt
heck
was
we
with you.
sang.
Well, then it's a done deal.
Yeah,
You
we
sang,
freaking
just,
sang.
we were just standing at the bar, and we were drinking, and you and Matt just lit it up. You sang a song, and Cheryl looked at me and goes, wow, they're amazing. And she said, this is a little blowing smoke, but, and look at how beautiful she is.
Oh, that was a long time
She said,
ago.
yeah. I said, I
What?
told you you'd like her. You don't remember that, huh?
No,
You-
I do now that you tell me. I totally remember now that you say it. I'm like, oh yeah,
So you played the Wee Fest that year?
yeah.
Do you remember what
sure
song
did.
it was that they sang?
No.
I
No.
don't either.
I'd be
Shoot,
curious. to know that.
I bet you Matt would remember.
Matt probably knows.
Matt probably remembers.
We'll-
Matt
we'll have to
remembers
text Matt.
names and like he remembers all the names and like everybody that was played on our albums, everybody that had anything to do, like whoever wrote every song, like the
It might
guy.
have been a little
is
big
steel
town.
trap of names. I bet it was.
We're giving Matt a hard time, and he's not here to defend
Matt's a
himself.
great guy.
But in credit, Matt is an unbelievable singer as
Yes,
well.
he is.
So
He is
Absolutely.
as well. I would. Yeah, he's
And we would have had
It's
Matt with us
crazy
today,
good.
but we only have 3 microphones.
yeah,
Right.
we don't have room. I mean, we could squeeze Matt between us on the couch, but you probably spend enough
plus
time
he's
next
not.
to him.
He's not really that interesting, so it's good he's not here.
So,
yes.
Having
Take the
Heidi-
shots while you can.
having
He's
Hei-
gonna see this, This will be all over
Yes, I told him.
all over the
I'm
interweb.
like, good. Finally, I don't have to deal with. Actually, I need.
We love you, Matt. We
Do
love
you know if he was here, he literally leaves me like minute by minute. He leaves me wide open for one-liners, and I really love when he's around because it's just one thing after another, and it's a blast. I get to look like I'm some sort of comedy star, and he's like, "It's you're not the funny one." Yes, I am.
Well, that's a big
Not
part
you,
of what
dude.
you. It's a big part of what you do, though. Like you're not just a singer; you're an entertainer, right?
Well, I certainly hope so.
She's a lot of things.
Yes.
We're learning that.
Yeah.
I had another fun experience with Heidi
Here,
and
that's
Matt.
our second album.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
there you go.
second
Much of the
album.
band. Some of those guys aren't with me anymore. As a matter of fact, one of them actually just won a Grammy.
No
for-
way.
Yeah, the one on the what is this? My right? Okay, far left to us.
Yeah.
Okay.
The one sitting by Matthew on the couch. Yeah, that's Jesse. He
Is that Jesse Ernst?
yeah,
Ernst?
yeah. And he went on to he's out in LA now and he has won Grammys now. He did Kanye West's last album.
You're kidding me.
The what's the I forget the name
His
of it.
dad was the lead for Killer Hayseeds.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because
And he's winning Grammys now.
when
guys.
all those guys retired, he kind of took over the band, right?
Right.
Yeah. I saw them when he was
And then
in
he
that.
came
I think
to
his
play
dad
for
was still
me.
with the band, but
Yeah.
he was singing.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a great show.
He's incredibly talented and
Yeah.
he's off winning Grammys now
Nice.
for
Good for
editing
him.
and stuff like that.
Is he even 30 yet?
I don't
He probably is by now.
barely.
Yeah.
If he is barely.
Yeah.
Is there
Okay, let me ask you one more question, then we're going to take a break. Do you remember the next time we hooked up?
wait a minute.
At
You
a
say
fun
it like
event.
that and your wife is in the room. Can we say that a different way?
The next time that we,
Saw each
well,
other.
you and Matt were together,
I'll drink to that.
and we were doing a big Wee Fest promotion at one of the Minnesota Twins games.
Oh.
And you and Matt sang the national anthem. And I'm here to tell you, and I'm here to tell you folks that are listening or maybe watching, Matt and Heidi got out to their microphone. And I was fortunate enough to throw out the first pitch that day.
I remember that.
It was-
I remember.
what I remember most, both Lynn and I were on the mound. Lynn was our stage producer for about 20 years.
She's also your personal security,
She's my everything.
Yes.
And
Lucky.
right?
anyway, you and Matt started belting out the national anthem, And I've never seen this, and I've watched the players.
I watched it on TV, by the way.
Did you?
I did. Of course I did.
I
As
was
heard you
there.
guys- Kyle, oh yeah, Kyle was at the game.
Oh, sweet.
Every one of the players, when you guys started singing, they looked like this, and they all turned around and looked to see who was singing, and they never pay attention. And they were like, "Wow!" And I was like, that's a huge compliment, I think,
Well,
because your harmonies
that
are so
is-
good.
That is.
Yeah.
That was. I remember that being one of the hardest places I've ever done the national anthem because the
Echo.
reverb
Yep.
was so bad. It would come back to you like a word later, and so if you paid any attention
Right,
to that,
right.
you'd forget where you were in the song. And you know how many people have botched the national anthem.
Oh yeah.
I was
Typically,
like,
you got to wear earplugs.
oh no, please. So yeah, but that was a blast. That was an absolute blast. I have pictures from that, and I don't know where they are. Sorry.
That's all right.
I have a couple
probably.
pictures.
Yeah, it was a great day. Great day.
We're gonna Tom, what we're gonna do really quick is just take a quick break. Now, normally we would just have one break in the show and we would come back and we'd be changing topics and getting into our hunting stuff for the day. But I think we're having so much fun with Heidi that we're gonna take a quick break. And then we're gonna come back from this break and bring Heidi back in
Okay.
and talk some more with her, and then we'll keep her here just to talk hunting stuff because she grew up in a hunting family, and so
I
maybe
did.
she
Oh,
can sit
boy,
and listen
did
to us
I.
talk about killing animals too.
All right.
Does that sound good?
Sounds good to me.
All right, so folks, we're going to be right back after the break with more from Heidi, and we'll get into some hunting stuff as well. But boots and backstraps back in a minute. If you would like to sponsor the Boots and Backstraps podcast, or you have an interest in joining our team, send us an email to bootsandbackstrapspodcast@gmail.com.
Current single, Fly, from their recently released self-titled CD, is now available on Facebook and their website. Folks, please welcome Hitchville. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light
What so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam,
whose broad stripes and bright stars
through the perilous fight,
o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave, home of the brave. Yeah.
Goosebumps.
That was fun.
All right, welcome back to the Boots and Backstraps podcast. You probably just saw in the commercial break there, we had the video of Heidi, you, and Matt, and then who was the third gentleman that was with you?
That's Chris. That's our bass player. That's our third harmony and everything. Although some of the other guys play, sometimes we're 4 and even 5 on occasions.
Yeah.
But that's Chris, and he's been our third harmony for for most of the time. I mean, he came in probably a year after we got together, and he's been with us ever since.
Do you guys work that arrangement together then?
He actually is responsible for that arrangement. That was
Okay.
Chris. That
Wow.
was Chris that
Wow.
put that together.
They're so good.
I got
I'm-
goosebumps.
Well, I'm telling you, I had goosebumps when I was out there. Lynn and I were standing right where the camera was. Do you have that?
I love it.
TC Bear.
I talked about
TC and TK.
yeah, TC and TK. That's my beautiful bride. She was the stage producer of the Wee Fest for 20 years. And what a fun day that was. I had a nice, wonderful conversation with Ron Gardenhire. We would show you that picture, but I switched phones and half of the photo went up into outer space and
Oh, yeah.
never came back.
Okay.
Um,
So you threw first
That
pitch out of
dang
that
cloud.
yeah,
game, though? Right.
yeah, what a fun, it was
So the question is, did you get the ball all the way to the catcher, or did you one hop it?
little bit outside. And it was a little bit outside.
Well, the whole stadium's a little bit outside, so it's fine.
Yeah,
For
there you
those
go.
that know me, I had and we're not going to go there, but I had a little bit of a baseball career. But before I got to throw out that first pitch, I was down at the batting cages in Lino Lakes over at Tom's place. And I was practicing. I bought a brand new pair of, actually had a pair of golf shoes on. I didn't want to slip off the mound. And I practiced and I got it over the plate and a little bit outside. It was fun. It was fun.
But did you get the batter to chase? That's the real question.
Well, there was no batter.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah,
But
that was a
it's
great.
not about me. It's about Heidi today.
Yeah, we still have Heidi with us.
Oh, you know
And,
what?
that could have been the best national anthem I've ever heard. It was just the harmonies were
Thank you.
ridiculous.
Thank you.
And as long as we're just free forming it here, free flowing, I have another national anthem story I have to tell you.
You
Lynn,
1 second before you get to
We're
that.
going off the cue cards.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say, like, normally with the show, as we talked about Heidi in the break, we would be transitioning out of our music conversation and getting into some hunting right away. But I think you agree with me that we've had so much fun with Heidi that we just said we have
Yeah.
to keep her around and continue
Heidi
this
grew up
conversation.
with a hunting family, and
I did. I
Yeah.
totally
she's just,
did.
so fun to have with us.
Yeah.
We're gonna keep Heidi here for.
I
little
have a
while
hunting
longer,
story.
Oh,
and we'll
great.
hear that hunting story.
Okay.
And keep
I
her
want
with
to tell
us.
you a national anthem story.
Yeah.
Lynn used to sing the national anthem at the Wee Fest every year.
She did.
Oh yeah, she has a beautiful voice, and I'll never
didn't
forget.
know
she-
this.
Yeah, we have.
Do you need a
I'm
backup
sorry,
singer?
There's a picture of her right there, singing the national anthem on my board. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't think of this. Otherwise, we'd have a picture of her on screen. So anyway, she's on the stage singing the national anthem. If I'm not mistaken, the Oak Ridge Boys. Lenny, why don't you show Danny where that picture of you singing the national anthem is over there? And maybe we can pop it up on the screen. Anyway,
She just gave you this look of you're talking about me. Oh,
she's singing the national anthem and she sounds just as beautiful as ever. And all of a sudden, she stopped right in the middle of the song. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And I'm standing behind her and I'm trying to pull my cowboy hat down. I'm like, by the dawn's early light, by the dawn's early light. I'm trying- And she's laughing. She's kind of giggling now. And the crowd is giggling. And all of a sudden, bang, she hammers back into it. And
dramatic pause for effect. She did it on purpose.
she just had a brain fart. Forgot where she was in the song. And I'm telling you, I never heard such a huge ovation for her because they felt bad for her and they all loved her. You know, everyone
Right.
loves Vinny.
Yeah.
So that night, the Oak Ridge Boys, God bless them, were the headliners. And they're singing- Yeah, they're singing Elvira.
Elvira.
Yeah,
And
you got it.
Bono.
You got about a 5
Bonzo,
octave
I
scale.
should say. Bonzo singing his lead, right? And
Yeah.
he
Oh,
stopped.
here you go, Tom.
There she is.
Yay.
She's got
Beautiful.
that look of I just forgot the words on her
Yeah.
face. It's a picture of Lynn and Tom on the stage at Wee Fest.
That's cute. Isn't she adorable?
Yes.
So Bonzo's singing Elvira, and all of a sudden, bang, he stops and he's like, oh my goodness. And the band's looking at me, you know, thousands of times they've sung that song.
Oh yeah.
And the band's looking at him and he's like, oh, he goes, I just wanted that young lady that was singing the national anthem to feel a little bit better. And
Ah.
then they hammered back into it. Those guys are such professionals. And
I'm surprised he
so
didn't come in
entertaining.
with Dawn's early light.
That was a fun story.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
we have
that's
hundreds of fun
awesome.
stories. Let's talk hunting.
Yeah.
What
Well,
time-
I want to I want to just wrap up the Hitchville
Okay.
piece because I don't feel like we've gotten to today with Hitchville, and I know I want to specifically ask about kind of what you guys have going on. Obviously, everybody's been challenged with the whole COVID thing and not being
Right.
able to play live.
What's been going on?
Right, the beer virus. But hopefully soon you'll be able to get back on stage and perform, at least in Minnesota anyway.
Right. Well, we actually are playing tonight.
Oh, you are?
Yep.
Right. So during this whole thing, yes, it's been very difficult, especially in Minnesota.
Are
To
you
play.
talking about our governor?
Yeah.
Oh, do I
Yeah.
have to?
No.
Did we promise that we
And-
weren't going to get into
No
politics?
politics
Yep,
or
no
religion. yeah.
politics. What? Really? Because
Yeah.
those are the
My
fun
wife's
ones.
over there going,
Yeah, she's
Yes.
gonna throw the what is it, the like cane, pull you off the stage.
Right. Well, yes. So we are playing they've opened up some of the bars now, and so we play kind of a Hitchville light version where there's 4 of us and lots of
Like
the-
Hitchville unplugged.
Yeah. Yes, except we're plugged in. And I mean,
Here you go, Heidi.
we've got the bass. Oh, let's see. I gave them this one because I loved playing for the little kids. The kids are so fun.
Do you remember what show this was?
This was out of Canterbury.
Okay.
And the kids all come up to me and they all want to take pictures and they want to talk
Sure.
to you and they want to know
They
what
want
they got to
hugs.
do. They want to know what they got to do what you do.
Oh.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
Cool.
You know, those are my favorite. The little girls that will come up and say, "I want to be a singer someday." And I'm like, "You go for it, girl."
Yeah.
So when my kids were little, I played a show out at the zoo once, and there was thousands of people and so many kids at this show, and all these kids were so close to the stage that my son, that was like 4 at the time, maybe, he came up to me while I'm singing. I'm in the middle of a song, and my son comes walking on stage and does this, "Hold you, mama," and I'm like, oh my gosh. So I pick him up and I sing the rest of the song with my son in my arms
Good for
Because
you though.
he was-
Awesome.
Fun.
because he was so bothered by all these children that wanted his mommy. And it was, the kids are one of my favorite things. I love the kids. And
Nobody would ever criticize you for that. That's
No.
for sure.
right. And I love to play for the Special Olympics too. Those guys are
Oh, yeah.
hilarious. Let me just tell you that.
They know how
Those
to
guys-
party.
Shane's
Those
competing in
Guys
the special.
are awesome. Those guys are so
They
awesome.
disqualified me, man. I failed the piss test.
It's difficult to sing for them though, because they make you laugh so much you kind of forget what you're doing. Yeah, I've got some stories
Shane, I'm
about
getting
that.
a new sight for my bow. It's called Spot Hog. And when they ordered it, they're like 5-6 weeks out because of everything that's going on. And I said, could you please, the archery leagues are going to be over at that.
I
time."
assume you ordered it from an archery shop that shall not be named because we haven't agreed to a sponsorship deal with them yet.
Down the road with Full Draw.
Yeah, Willie, sponsorship dollars, brother.
Anyway,
I got a
said,
Spot
"Could
Hog
you
on my bow."
please tell them that I'm competing in the Special Olympics and I really, really need this sight sooner than that.
A
Maybe
spot
that's
hog.
not
Why
funny.
does that not sound like a hunting thing though?
Yeah,
Spot Hog?
Yeah. Like why? Why is it called that?
I don't know.
I don't know. That's their company name, and they're selling. a
Oh,
lot of
that's their
equipment.
company name? Okay.
Yeah,
It's a
All right.
That's the
Spot Hog
brand,
site.
yeah.
It's a brand.
All right. I thought this is
I'll tell you,
like,
Heidi, and
who's,
I know we're
who's
not in-
hunting hogs?
A
everybody.
lot of people,
Really?
hundreds
So
of
this is
people
how you
several different
spot
breeds of
A
hogs.
hog?
in
Yeah,
Texas,
kinda, yeah.
Oklahoma. Heidi, all throughout the South, the hogs have gone wild. They're breeding and breeding and breeding, and there's millions and millions, and they're destroying all the cropland in Texas,
Oh.
Right.
Oklahoma, and all the southern states. There's no limit. You can shoot as many. They're shooting them from helicopters.
So this to me is exactly why hunting should always has to be, because you have to
Absolutely.
thin the herd.
Yes.
Oh, and there's no thinning them. They're trying to thin this herd. They breed.
There's a few
Uh,
other
somebody
herds
could
I can
correct me,
think of
but I-
that need thinning as well.
They have like
Agreed.
10 piglets 4 times a year. So they're just so prolific.
Yes, if you go to like Texas and you're going to go on a deer hunt, they'll let you shoot unlimited hogs while you're on your deer hunt.
Wow.
So you
Oh,
just
yeah.
go out there with a quiver full of
And-
arrows
and-
and you
Anytime
drop
of
a
year.
half
Is
dozen
the
hogs.
hog is the meat good?
Oh yeah.
Oh, you don't want to kill a big hog, and if you shoot one around 100 pounds,
Yeah.
100 pounds and less, between 50 and 100.
How can you tell how much they weigh? Do you like
Well,
run out
you
with
can
a
see the
scale real
mom and
quick,
the
or what do
little
you
ones.
do?
There's usually a variety of them out there, but You're
Y'all are
killing
so good
hogs.
at this that you know how much they weigh just by looking at 'em. Can you do
Yeah.
that with women too?
Oh yeah.
No, we can't, Tom.
Not
So don't
anymore.
say
Why,
a
do you want
word.
to
I
stay
don't wanna
married?
hear it.
No, we can't,
Do not
Tom.
tell me what you think.
Going back to your question, wild boar meat is ask my wife
72.
when.
Good.
I'm
Is that my
close, right?
age or my weight?
You
I
won't
think we're
find-
pretty close to the same age, actually.
Do you? Let's not go there.
Yeah.
Not right this minute. I bet we're not.
I think you'd be quite surprised how old I am.
All right, I'm
Can
going
you
to try this one more time. Wild boar meat is as good a meat as you'll ever eat.
We're not allowed a tangent? You're only one allowed a rabbit hole?
Yeah, no shit. No, am I allowed to say
You
shit?
can say shit, yeah.
Oh, no shit.
No, we kill a pig typically.
That was
every
good
year.
breaks, though. Yeah. Can I say that? Yes, you can.
I'm sorry, we keep cutting you off. It must be really interesting.
Wild boar
what
meat
you're
is
saying.
excellent.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And so what I was telling her a second ago is there's so many different species,
Right.
with hogs. Because you got razorbacks and you got javelinas and you got all these different
Who-
pigs.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I mean, you just look at them and go, pig.
Russian boar.
Russian boars, yeah.
Yep. A lot of them.
Did they come from there? Is that why you call them?
Well, yeah. Our pigs, all the pigs in America.
they get
came
over
from
here?
Europe.
They only drink vodka.
How did they get over here?
On
They
the ships.
swim?
Back, when the settlers, when the pilgrims came and when the people came to the New World, they brought food with them. Like corn isn't, if I'm not mistaken, corn is not native to America and pigs are not native. And they brought these things with them so they could eat and grow them in America, the new country, the new world.
Hey, Killer Kyle,
Yes, sir.
I'll give you a job. Kyle's been so quiet because we're monopolizing today. Can you just do a quick Google machine look and see how many different species of hog there is in the U.S.? I'd be curious to know that since we're talking about it.
You
Wow.
got it.
How many species? This will be news to
Well,
me.
I know
Wild
there's a-
hog specifically. How
There's
many species
certainly
of wild hog?
variety of domestic hogs.
Yeah, it sounds like wild hogs.
And the wild hogs
Just-
probably have got, they interbred with our domestic hogs.
Do you think
and-
Adam named all those too? Because we're
Nope.
told. No?
No,
Okay.
no, there wasn't quite so many back there. then.
Okay. So it's just pig.
Right?
Or did he call it a hog and we nicknamed it pig?
I don't think he spoke English.
Really? Suey?
So I have no idea.
Ooh-wee, that's great.
Oh,
Do you want
boy.
to hear my hunting story?
Yeah.
We're into hunting.
Well, wait,
Let's-
I really want to wrap up the Hitchville thing. And then
Oh,
we'll-
what's that?
I was just going to say, like,
I'm
getting,
just-
you have a gig tonight.
I do?
And I was going to ask you, like, what's the story with the Hootenanny? Is that going to have some life moving forward?
You know what? We found a new spot for it, and
Okay.
then the whole COVID thing happened.
All right.
So our idea is to, we'd found a bigger campground. We'd found one with more facilities and more, so it'd be easier for people. And then the world went through this. So, I would like to say yes. I
Because
mean,
there is this thing, the Hitchville Hootenanny.
yes,
and
and
you
it was
can-
so much fun.
Let's throw
I
a
have
promo
to-
on it.
Hitchville Hootenanny is our own festival that we started, and the first year I think we had oh gosh, I'm gonna take that back because I can't remember. That's the one place I drink too much, and so I
Ah.
don't have a whole lot of recall.
You don't have to drive anywhere, right?
Where do you do the hootenanny?
Well, we were doing it in Wisconsin, up by the St. Croix Casino. It was just
Okay.
on a campground. Just I don't know. I want to say west or south, but I'm terrible with directions, as most people that know me can attest.
The one in Danbury?
Yes, thank you.
All right.
That's it. That's the place.
Rand McNally in his head. It's amazing to me.
I bear hunt up in that country quite a
Yeah.
bit.
He just turns his nose in the air and goes, "We're facing 6 degrees southwest right now."
See, and I wake up in the morning and go, "Where's the sun? On what side does it? What side does it
The
rise?"
curve of the earth.
Yes, and I thank God for the phones that tell
It
you
was
where
the
to
hole
go.
in the wall casino. Now it's
And that's the name of my song, "Hole
Yeah.
in the Wall."
Yep.
And there is an
now
actual
they've merged
bar
with
in Tennessee called that.
the turtle.
Yes.
So
now they
that's
call
where
it
you've
the
been. When
Turtle.
did you start doing that?
We started doing that? I want to say like 5 years ago, and we
The
did it-
website says 2015.
Okay, well that's close.
Yeah.
I mean, this is 2021. Just
I looked at
started.
it yesterday just to kind of, see
Yep.
when that was going to come back around.
What?
Nothing.
What's with all the sign language?
I don't know any sign language.
Well,
So that's been going pretty well. How many people are attending? How many bands are playing?
we had bands all day. So we'd have like 6 bands throughout the day and we would headline.
And you're putting this together?
Yeah.
You're taking the role of promoter?
Yeah.
That's not-
Well, I actually had a bigger role and then I kind of 86 myself out of there because I manage and I play agent to our
Right.
band. So
That's
I
a
was
lot
so
to do.
busy. So then Matt and Bruce, who's a guy that worked with us on this whole thing and sponsored a lot of it, would take on that particular monster. And we did it for like 3 years and then we took a break and we were going to come back again a year later and then all of this craziness started.
Yeah.
So, you know, the summer's shaping up, not quite like a normal summer yet and then lots of people are giving you the disclaimer that we're hoping this happens and if it does, great. And if it doesn't, we're sorry.
Yeah.
And that sucks, but you know, you just keep putting as much on the calendar as you can.
Right. Fill the dates you can.
Right. So thank God for the Hitchville light because that kept us very busy last summer. Lots of people calling last minute and going, we just want somebody to come over and play around the pool, and ended up being a great time and
Good.
a busy summer actually. At least most weekends.
Good.
Yeah. So that's,
Yeah.
you know, we've managed. This has been one of the slower points right now because, you know, so much of the state's closed down.
Well,
And-
everybody's in uncertainty of what the governor is going to allow this year, right?
Right. And then in other states that we're close to that are more open, they're
Or
still
completely open.
They're still kind of trying to recover themselves from all of this. So they can't really afford my whole band.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so this little 4-piece that we've been running around with at least keeps the name going and ourselves busy to a point. And yeah, so that's where that's where we're at right now. I'm just praying for something different.
Yeah. Hopefully by midsummer, fall, things are going to open up.
Right.
I feel so bad for the restaurant owners, for the entertainment industry. Oh, It's a nightmare.
It has been not cool.
being retired, it hasn't affected me, and my wife is a school teacher, and it hasn't affected her, and she's gotten her shots, or one of her shots, I should say.
That
We're just
sounded really
praying.
bad.
Well,
Vaccinations?
That would have sounded
Like,
bad
Shut-
maybe a couple
shut her
years
shots.
ago.
Poor Lynn, got to
But
get her
when you talk
every
about,
3-year rabies. Got to get them done.
when you're talking about shots these days, everyone knows what you're talking about.
Right.
She got her vaccine shot, and she's waiting on her second one. That's another whole topic of a conversation.
Yes.
that we're
Yeah,
not gonna
we won't
get
go into that.
Right.
Where are we gonna go, Shane?
Yeah, I think I think it's a great opportunity for Heidi to tell us her hunting story.
Well, I don't really even know
Bring
if
us
it's a
right into the
hunting
killing
story,
animals.
But you know, lots of people that hunt, there's that whole other side that don't think we should hunt animals and stuff like that.
Well,
And I grew up in a
anti-hunters.
hunting family, right?
Right.
And I got a brother that would wake up at the crack of dawn. He still does every day. Wakes up at the crack of dawn so he can go out and sit in his perch for an hour or two before he goes to work for the rest of the day. And he'll sit there and that's what he does. And he, you know, that's his favorite thing to do. And he's taken trips to do some hunting in Colorado up in the mountains and all
Yep.
kinds of stuff. So I didn't ever go hunting with them. I never did. It's crazy to me because everybody in my family hunted. And then I had a brother also, I was telling you on the way in here, that was Secret Service. So he had a pistol that he would come home with and be like, come on, everybody, we're going out to shoot the pistol. And I never went out to shoot it. And I just told him I'm going to get my permit in like a week
Nice.
and a half. So I'm going to a class that I got to go to for like 6 hours to get this permit
Oh, yeah.
and the whole 9 yards. And I'm like, I can't believe that I've waited this long in my life to
Right.
learn how to shoot a gun, you know, and do this because I've grown up around it my entire life. Well, when I grew up on a Christian camp my whole life, it's called Ironwood Springs Christian
Tell us
Ranch.
where it is.
It's in Stewartville, Minnesota.
Right.
Stewartville, that's way out
Stewartville,
west.
Minnesota. It's just south
no,
of
no.
Rochester.
So.
South of Rochester.
Oh,
South of
Stewartville.
Rochester.
I'm thinking of
Yep.
Stewart.
20,
Yep.
like 20 minutes south of Rochester. And it's out on County Road 6, about 6 miles out. And I grew up on this ranch. It was called Ironwood Springs Christian Ranch. It was a camp. And it's about 300-400 acres. And a river runs through it. And
Wow.
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful there.
Sounds like a movie.
It's a kind of an amazing place to grow up because people, you think you go to camp as a kid and you're thinking, who lives here, who runs here? Well, I grew up on one of those, so that I met people every day of my life, and I had just it was a beautiful. It was a great way to grow up. It started with one building and then it grew to a chapel and a hotel because my uncle was in a wheelchair, and so he built a hotel on the property that had all handicap facilities so handicapped kids could come to camp, and it was just a really cool thing. So we had a deer on the ranch named Tinkerbell that was like a dog, and she was out on her own. She could just roam wherever she wanted to, and she'd come flying up out of the woods with that white tail up in the air and leaping and bounding like deer do.
Yeah.
And she'd come in and it would be like a Scooby-Doo moment where you hear the and they stop real fast, and there she is, and there's dust that flies because she slid in, and she sits there, the tongue hanging out like a dog, and everybody'd be like, holy crap. And I'm like, oh, this is Tinkerbell.
Part of the family.
Yeah. And she'd wait for people to feed her, do whatever, and then she'd go tearing off again, and they would be like still standing there with their mouths hanging open because
That's a wild
animal just came flying out of the woods and hung out with us for a minute. We got to touch it. So funny story about her. One time she came out of the woods and she had her lip just hanging, like her whole lip was hanging from a piece of skin on this one side, the whole thing, and drooling like crazy. And my dad was like, well, holy crap. So we call the vet. The vet comes out and sews it up, send her off into the woods. Literally comes out of the woods a day later. She's got the lip hanging again. And we're like, oh crap, man. So call the vet out, sews it up again. And
How
then
did you capture it?
she actually was found as a baby
Oh,
because mommy had been
So she's somewhat
So she was just-
domesticated.
right. So she
yeah.
had been, she had grown up around people and in like a dog pen, and like
Okay.
she just took on the role of being a pet.
Okay.
And then she was given to the ranch, and she would come flying. I mean, she could fend for herself,
Nice.
but she'd come running out of the woods, and she was wonderful. She was the most wonderful animal. And
So
this
lip sewed up twice.
yeah, lip sewed up twice. Second time we put her in the deer pen because we did have some like llamas and stuff and real high fences because people would come to the ranch and pet all the other animals. And
Mhm.
so she was in there and she hated it. She's like pacing, he'll get me out of here kind of thing. Finally, after about 2 days, we let her out thinking it had enough time to heal. Let her out, comes back a couple days later, and the damn thing is hanging again. So my dad's like, all right, that's it. So he goes and gets a blow dryer and he blow dries each piece of skin so it's dry, and then he super glued it. He just stuck it back on. And then no, she never came out of the woods with it hanging again, but she couldn't feel it anymore, so she drooled like the rest of her life. It was somewhat hilarious, but she was fine. It was the only way to get this is the only way it was going to work. I mean, my dad had done it to himself 100 times because
yeah.
he cuts
Yeah.
himself and
I haven't
you
really
know,
done it myself
ship-
except for accidentally, but I've seen it in the movies.
yeah, super
Trick of the trade.
super glue
Yeah.
everything. So we super glued the lip back on, and that was. But the hunting story.
But don't
is-
put Gorilla Glue on your hair.
no,
Some
don't.
little modern reference there. Don't do that.
But the hunting story is there was a guy up in his perch, not far from our property,
hmm
and he was sitting up in his perch, and during hunting season we would put this giant yellow collar around her neck so that no one would shoot
Right.
her, right? Because she doesn't know anything from anything, and she's an awesome. This is one you want to keep, right?
Yeah.
So he's up in this perch, and I don't think she had the yellow collar. If I remember correctly, for some reason the collar wasn't on her. For whatever reason, she'd gotten it off or something. And he was up in the perch, and he was about to shoot her. He's telling the family this later, and he's got his gun pointed right at her, and she just keeps coming. She just keeps walking, walking, walking. And then she got to the bottom of the tree, and she looked up at him, and he was like,
This ain't right.
no, what the,
You
like,
can't shoot this.
I'm like, no. So he came down out of the tree. She let him pet him. He gave her an apple. They hung out for a little bit. And he said after that, really, he had a really hard time hunting for quite
Sure.
some time. He really just couldn't do it for a while. But, hunting needs to happen because the herd gets too big
Right.
and you're just whatever. So these things need to happen. But it's crazy how sometimes, you have those moments where you're like, there's a moment where you're like, I don't know. And she was the kind of animal that would elicit that. So
That's
not
a great story.
it is. I thought so. Well, yeah.
I
So
have-
I
It is a
shared.
great story. I agree.
I've heard a lot of stories and a lot of hunting stories. and
I've
that's-
never pet a deer that was still alive. So
Yeah, that's cool. The fact that he got
when you
out
knock
of the
one down
tree-
and you get your pictures, you're always like, you know,
Ah,
it's a nice
nice.
looking deer. Gonna eat you later.
Hey, Shane, I found some stats.
Yeah. What'd you find?
Well, there's 3 types that they brought up, but then there's just countless subspecies that fall, hybrids that follow below that.
Yeah,
But when you're
hogs.
talking about the total amount,
Yeah.
right now there's over 6 million in the U.S. When you look at Texas, over 1.5 million hogs, and they're saying that population's growing by 20% per year in Texas.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this is a really important
Wow.
thing to be hog hunting. I mean, imagine that 20% a year.
Oh,
On
and
6
I love
million?
bacon.
Yeah.
There's video. I mean, there's some television shows, Heidi, that
That's 1.2 million hogs a year. That population grows if you don't hunt and thin that herd.
Yeah, which is
They're,
exactly why you need to hunt.
Yes.
in Texas and Oklahoma and other states, they're hunting them from a helicopter and they're putting down on the ground as many as they can. And they're not just leaving them there to rot. They're collecting them with a truck later on and they're feeding the poor. They're feeding the hungry with them. But they can have clips.
Oh,
this
they can
big.
use the fur. They can use the teeth. They can use all kinds of stuff.
And
Right.
they're putting and they're not putting a dent. I mean, you would think you'd watch one program and you see them kill maybe 200 or 300 hogs,
And
and
you
that's
think,
a lot.
Yep.
But that's not putting a dent. And
Oh my
they are
god.
destroying the river property, the agricultural property. They
Yep.
eat everything and they root up everything. So the riverbanks are caving in. They're just a horrible, horrible move. And they're all the way up into Iowa, even southern Wisconsin, and all of, Missouri, all the southern states. They're everywhere.
At 1.2 million in growth, just doing quick math in my head because it's kind of my thing.
Oh,
It's
not
about
mine.
0.4%. If they're killing 300,
Yeah.
0.4%.
Yeah.
So you're barely touching that population growth.
Can you say that in English?
It's a tiny fraction. A tiny fraction. Tiny fraction of the herd.
35 states.
35 states out of the 52. They're not in Alaska. They are in Hawaii. For
Well, they're
sure.
smart. They don't like it to be cold.
They're not in North Dakota and Montana. But I mean, you just
Wow.
get south of Minnesota into Missouri and you got wild pigs everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
See, and from watching some of the shows that I have over this time that we have at home, I realize some of those things are pretty dangerous.
They are.
They are.
They definitely can be.
The
They've
ones
got
with that
razor sharp
horn,
tusks.
yeah, the ones with the razors on the sides of those are some nasty little animals.
But they taste good.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
watching, we were bow hunting pigs up by Little Falls, Minnesota. A guy I know has a high fence farm there and he has a lot of pigs. And we go up there and harvest some pigs every year to eat. And I was at a distance of a couple hundred yards and I was watching a group of like 4 guys. They had one down and I was watching them with my binoculars. And it should have been on television. The pig came back to life and started flailing around.
Oh, no.
Guys were climbing up trees. Guys were climbing up fence. It was like the Keystone Cops. I was like, oh, you don't want to get one of those razors, one of those razor sharp tusks into your leg.
No,
Ooh,
I can't imagine.
they
Your
do some
your
damage.
Keystone Cop story is reminding me of the last time I was at home, and I was upstairs in my mom's room, in her room with her, and we were just chatting because I was going to be leaving soon, and my dad was at there's a sliding door that goes was supposed to go on a deck, but there's a sliding door in their room, and he's standing there with the door cracked a little bit, and I couldn't see that he was holding a gun in his hand. And I'm like, and I'm talking to my mom, and my dad turns and he goes, "Shh." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Shh, I'm hunting." I'm like, "What?"
You're hunting.
And I look over at him and he's waiting for this raccoon to come out so you can see the eyes because this thing's been tearing up
Right.
the backyard and taking garbage and killing stuff. And he's like, "We got to get rid of this coon." So my
Gruesome.
dad is up in the bedroom, like, never mind being out in your perch or waiting for an animal. He's like, "I'll be in the comfort of my home where there's
Cup
heat.
of coffee right
I
next to
got
them.
something right here. Just take the gun out." And sure enough, I go out to my car and I hear bang. So I call mom. "Did he get him?" "No."
All of that.
Well, you don't
Did
eat
I
the raccoon.
No,
Don't eat that. That's
no,
nasty.
No, you didn't
There's
get
a
him.
lot of
Garbage
people that'll
eaters.
disagree with you. You smoke raccoon. A lot of people shoot raccoon and trap them, and they'll
Oof.
smoke them up.
Sounds like they got smoked before they even.
Ah.
Catching on.
Hey, TK, I just got a text message from your whiskey glass saying it's been trying to reach you for a while and you're not
I've been
responding.
sipping. When you and Heidi are talking, I'm sipping.
That's not happening. I haven't seen that.
See,
I
that's
think
what I'm
he's,
saying.
he's so full of
He
it.
tries to say that because I look at you and I can't see him, so he figures he can slip it in, but he doesn't
Right.
remember you're
But he doesn't
facing him.
remember that I'm looking right
There's
at
a
him.
turkey.
There you go.
Which one?
Ah.
Both of them.
So yeah, so we need to our hunting topic of the day is about turkey, and so Tom, you've got
You have to
quite
hunt
the
turkey.
collection of you do. There's quite a collection of turkey in this room. In fact, I mean dozens
Yeah.
of turkeys in this room alone. So this is an area that you might have a few
Well,
things.
in that shot, I think we
So
have.
leaving us wide open for one-liners.
There's a
you know.
Miriam. There's two Miriams.
perfect.
There's a few Easterns. I guess I should start from the beginning. There's 6 varieties of turkey, and we can have the tech pull that up. In the United States, you've got an Osceola turkey in Florida.
Mhm.
And that's the only place they are. They're in a pocket.
Turkey species, Killer Kyle.
All these
Google
are
machine.
turkeys?
Yeah,
Seriously?
All
Yeah.
turkey fans, yeah.
Wow.
those were all. See the flying one up there?
I don't think they're your fans after all, really.
From where you're sitting, can you see the flying turkey?
Up over the top of the control room
The
there.
lights are in your way. That used to be over the fireplace at Red Oak.
Wow.
Anyway, in Osceola, there's
Love
the
that
Osceola. There's the Eastern turkey, which is the most prevalent in the United States. And then out west and a little bit south, you've got the Miriam. Then you've got the Rio Grande down in Texas and Oklahoma. And they kind of have migrated a little bit, so you wind up with hybrids.
I think there's
So-
5 kinds.
Well,
That's just my personal
there's-
opinion.
an oscillated.
Well,
There's an oscillated turkey and
what's the most common in this area, Tom?
Easterns.
Eastern.
Thank-
We see
Thanksgiving.
Easterns in Minnesota.
Thanksgiving. Yes.
Thanksgiving.
That's my favorite kind, actually.
Boy, she is a comedian. You got to stop laughing at the things she's saying.
Mm-mm. I'm enjoying it.
Tom is spot on. There are 6.
Yeah.
Can
There's
you
an-
just rattle those off for us quick?
You
Yep.
know what? Lynn Elizabeth, I have a picture of an oscillated turkey. I work with Outdoor News quite a bit. And Lynn, could you find that on my phone and get that to Danny?
Oscillated. What
An
does that?
oscillated turkey is the most bizarre looking turkey. It doesn't look like our turkeys. They're actually the color of the Miami Dolphins. They're aqua,
Seriously?
and they've got little orange bumps on them, and they got these beautiful feathers. And they're only found in the Yucatan Peninsula.
Sounds
and
beautiful.
Through
actually.
Mexico, you
It
have
does, yeah. Are they from the Caribbean?
The only thing is a turkey's face, not
no,
attractive.
not
No.
attractive.
So no matter what colors
There's
you
one
got
right
going on,
behind you.
no matter how cute your butt is.
That one's been laughing at your joke, so I'll
One
let
right
her know.
behind you there.
Right on, dude. Thank you.
So what do you call that mount?
Well, it's a half mount.
Half mount, yeah.
That's a full
Oh my
mount.
God, more
And these are
jokes.
just turkey fans. But behind you, you've
I'm a
got-
turkey fan. It sounds like Heidi is at least one day a
Yes,
year.
Yes, absolutely. I am.
So
you know,
anyway, those are all the turkeys. I don't think I missed any.
so are they? Do
No.
I'm curious about this, okay? Because
Oh.
I didn't realize you hunted turkeys.
turkey hunting is huge.
So are they hard to like? Or don't they? Do they even
Let's
know?
walk
Aren't they just
through what a
sitting
turkey hunt
around?
sounds like, right?
Yeah, because I'm
I'll
start-
answer your question first. Turkey hunting can be the toughest thing in the world, and sometimes it can be the easiest. Turkey, some people think they're dumb. Turkey, and
I've known a few. Of
turkey
those.
have the best eyesight. And I'm going to go out on a limb here. I will say, and there's a lot of people, I have a friend who's going to be on our show in the future, Tom Glines, who's the regional, he's actually the National Wild Turkey Federation representative. They have the best eyesight in the world. I mean, eagles have great eyesight, crows do,
Antelope.
antelope, but
What do they need
turkey's
their
eyesight,
eyesight for?
I'll just say they're second to none.
Because they don't smell real good.
Because they don't smell. And their hearing, you can be 200 yards away from a turkey, and I'm going to demonstrate some calls here.
Just for people who are watching, I'm just putting up some of the flying turkey, and
There's
then I'll put up the other mount that they
that
talked
one,
about
I
too.
believe, is yeah, that's a Miriam, the flying one.
That's
Did
a full
you find
mount.
that oscillated turkey? It's at the outdoor news booth. You'll have to find that one. It's the one that looks aqua in color. We got to put that on the screen because
There's your half mount.
This is
it's-
Heidi's turkey.
Yes. That's my half mount.
Mm-hmm.
That sounded terrible. Sorry.
Speaking of security, he's kind of over your shoulder, all puffed up.
I forgot what I was talking about.
You're
Because we started talking
you
about
were telling
mounting.
us
Is
why
that what
they have
happened?
such good hearing or something, or
You're
why
gonna
their
do some
eyes are good or
turkey
something.
calls. Turkey
I think
calls.
everyone will agree with me. Turkey hunting, turkey's eyesight's second to none. Their hearing, second to none. I mean, you know how well a deer can hear.
Right.
It's estimated that turkey can hear 8 times better than a deer. I mean, and this is all for their defense. They don't smell. So if you're in a blind or if you're on the
I
ground
think
and
that
you
sounds
move,
lucky.
you move the wrong way, they're gone. Like sometimes a deer or an elk will take a second look, not a turkey. If they see something wrong, they're gone.
Gone.
So they can be tricky to hunt. I've been fortunate. I hunted 8 different states in the springtime for many years. And so I've harvested around somewhere between 80 and 90 turkeys. But I would go to 8 different states, and sometimes you could take 2 in those states. And I hunted turkey in Minnesota pretty much from the time that they were released here out of Caledonia, where I still hunt.
Can you
Yeah.
eat all of them?
Oh my
yeah.
goodness, of course.
So there isn't a type that you can't eat because it's too gamey or too.
No, they're not gamey at all. Wild turkey tastes, in my opinion, the same as domestic turkey. They're a
Really?
little bit tougher, but they have the exact same flavor.
Okay.
But it's a turkey. And oh my goodness, we've had
I think
many-
the gaminess comes from the way that you prepare it, the way you harvest it. We've
don't
talked
know
about
that
this with other
gamey-
animals.
I think people, the word gamey, I think people mistake when they, back in the day, when people were eating venison and it wasn't prepared
Mhm.
and they were overcooking it and they were tasting the wildness.
Or they
of
leave that hide on
they
there too
use
long.
that word gamey. Yeah, they left the hide on too long.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
A
where the
little
word
bit
gamey came
bitter
from. There's
or
nothing
something.
gamey about a turkey or, for that matter, any animal. If you get the hide off of them, if you cook them correctly, if you don't, there's an oscillated turkey.
How do you cook them correctly?
Look at that guy.
I'll tell you. You see that?
That's
Look at the head on
beautiful.
that one, Heidi. You see that
Well, okay.
that
it's-
aqua head, but
It
no
is.
little
It is
orange
much
bumps?
prettier than the average,
no.
and he doesn't have the double chin they usually got going on.
Those are
Turkey neck.
amazing.
That one's on a diet.
That turkey was harvested in the Yucatan Peninsula by Eric Myers of Outdoor News.
Huh.
Good friend. We're going to have Eric on someday, and we'll have Rob Dressling. Rob Dressling, the editor of Outdoor News, is headed to our podcast here in the near future.
Yeah, next few weeks.
And
We've got a pretty good lineup. Like a
I
year's
said
worth
we
of,
last
do.
week.
we have like a year's worth of guests already, but we're starting off strong.
Yeah.
I said last week we have
some
some
more smoke blowing. Yeah.
we have some very colorful guests coming on, like the Elk Whisperer. And
We have a colorful guest
we have a
on right now.
colorful guest right now.
Hey Tom, I want to hear some of them calls.
Okay, we're gonna
Demonstration of
we're
the
gonna
calls.
demonstrate some- I've got my turkey hunting vest.
Yeah, walk us through what some of this equipment
Well,
is,
there's
because
pockets everywhere because there's a lot of gizmos and gadgets. There's pockets on the inside. I don't know if you can see
we will.
that.
and you won't drown if you fall in the water.
And there's a
we will get to the actual hunt side of it.
pouch
whenever there's a
back here
question.
for actually putting your turkey in. You know, I've got a seat cushion here for running and gunning and sitting on the ground. I've already pulled out some of my calls, and this is an old one. This is a HS Strut
It's a box,
box
call.
call. And this is what everybody used back in the old days. You know, there were some old timers back in the 40s, I suppose. You know, turkey hunting was real prevalent out east, the Carolinas, you know, Tennessee, and that's been going, but it's not that prevalent. It's only started here in the late 70s.
So I have a question for you. If you're not a hunter of these things and
Okay.
you have these turkey calls, is it, do you do this because they come looking for what turkey is making this
Yeah, I'll
noise?
explain
They
that.
want to come find out
Most
where that's coming from?
most of the turkey hunting is done in the spring, and that's when the turkeys are breeding.
Okay.
That's when you see the male turkeys, the
Oh,
toms,
gotcha.
displaying like you see them here,
Mhm.
and they're trying to attract a female by doing so. And when you hear a hen calling,
Hens and toms, females and males in the
Got
turkey
it.
field. Just
Got it.
and when you
I
hear a hen
figured as
calling,
much.
you know, typically the hen comes to the gobbler in the real world. But if the season is right, the timing is right.
All wrong.
If you make a little noise, that's a box call, hen call. That's a hen calling. Well, then that if the tom is close by and he's in the mood, he'll gobble at you. And then,
whoa, whoa, whoa. There are times when a tom's not in the mood.
yeah, we'll talk about that later.
I have never seen this before. Never seen it before.
If he's
Yeah, I
in
know.
the mood.
Has there ever been a man,
have to get him a
regardless of
drink?
species, that said, "I have a headache tonight"? I don't think so.
Well, sometimes he's got other hens with him. He's not interested in that one.
Catfish.
Yeah, exactly.
Danny, we're never going to get through this.
Danny, there's
anyway,
a thing
this
that
is a-
those do. They make
This is a
call
box
noises.
call.
Yep, the hen call.
That's a hen. And this is a hen flying out of a tree.
Bring that tom right
This is
on in.
cutting, called cutting when you. Wasn't that good,
Sound exciting.
but this is a slate call, and you can do a variety of things with this. I have a diaphragm call, which you put in your mouth, and you'll.
Demonstrate that.
So
one
this
too.
is a feeding hen.
This feeding
Just
mean
relax.
they're eating?
But yeah, this isn't feeding; it's pecking and
Okay.
making a content sound. And if a turkey's close enough and he hears that, that's a deadly call. And then this is the same call I did on the boxes where you're just doing a standard hen call. Well, that's just a hen calling.
Why is it a deadly call? Because you're for sure gonna get to shoot
Well,
it.
if they're close enough to hear this, for some reason, in my experience, it's very.
They
love
can't
to hear
resist,
that, so
right?
They
can't
know she's
resist that.
bent over eating.
Yeah. 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 The tail fan is facing north, Tom.
We went from R-rated to X-rated in a heartbeat.
Oh,
That-
that's
no,
horrible.
That's subliminal. The tail feathers are facing north.
The deadly call.
Hey, you know what? When you give her some rope, that's what's
I
gonna
told you, I'm
happen.
So there's two calls.
Where's your reed?
This is the one that I use most.
There was a few years ago. I was at that outdoor news
Deer Classic?
deer classic, and there was a gentleman there that was selling mouth
Right,
reeds specifically for turkeys, and he was making all these sounds with his mouth, including gobbles and the whole thing. I was really
I wish I could
impressed.
think of his name.
It was incredible.
He's called.
I had my cousin Andy Urbanak with me, and he's a turkey hunter, and he was talking about how incredibly gifted the guy was.
We can get our mighty technician.
Yeah, Killer
He's
Kyle.
the turkey godfather in Minnesota. We can probably pull up a picture of him real quick, but he's the best. He's at all the turkey classics.
Yeah,
The
and
deer and turkey classics.
amazing with that mouth reed.
Yeah. Oh, he played there with me. I can just do the basics. Hen call. That's called cutting. So there you go. There's some of the calls.
Yeah, nice job, Tom.
Some of the calls that you can make while turkey hunting, and if you haven't,
Did it make you want to jump off the couch?
she was lurching, she was leaning.
There's a time in the area.
But I'm told that you're supposed to run to those those kinds of things, and
Sometimes they'll
I'm
run
not
you.
good at that,
Sometimes
you
they'll
know.
sneak in, like you girls typically do.
She knows there's a gun waiting on the other end of that
Right?
town, so she's gonna pass.
yeah, I'll pass.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
I hope I had that right. I was hoping to get a picture on the screen of the gentleman that you're talking about.
Yeah, I think we're probably getting some research done in there to find him.
Um,
So
But I think they call him the turkey godfather, but he always has the spur hat band, the turkey spurs. If you want to get a kid or a spouse or anyone into hunting, turkey hunting is an extremely fun way of doing it because you're out there in the springtime after a long winter. The sprouts are coming up out of the ground. So if you're lucky enough, you're sitting in a stand of morel mushrooms and you can pick those best eating mushrooms on the planet. And it's just beautiful out. It's not cold anymore. And to see a turkey come in, I remember the first time I saw one coming into me, I thought it was like a wall hanger buck. I was so excited. The sun shining, the morning sun coming up, shining on a turkey, all those iridescent colors, the blue, white, red head, they're just, you almost get buck fever.
Yeah.
Especially
because they come in all puffed up
and then they spit drum. They make a humming sound. They're vibrating their feathers, and it makes a humming sound.
Because they're trying to track.
Absolutely, they're trying to track the female.
Yeah.
And,
Who knew there was such a ritual?
Oh yeah, and it's just so so fun.
It's not like buying a drink and sending it down the bar, right?
No, this is far more.
You look like a
interesting.
tequila sunrise kind
Yeah,
of girl.
this is so much more interesting.
Oh, it is.
I'd
And
love it
I
if
have such
somebody
a
came in
passion
and
for all
shook
this
their
hunting.
tail feathers a little bit.
Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. Earn it a little bit, right? What I tell you what, Tom, we got to bring this thing in for a landing.
Oh, we do. All
Yeah,
right.
we're up against the 2-hour
All right.
episode already. Can you believe it?
Well, having you
No.
on, Heidi, has been so much fun that
Yeah.
the time has just flown by, and we're gonna have to correct some of the stories off camera here when we're done here.
I didn't say anything that wasn't true.
No, you didn't.
Oh, I probably said more than I needed to.
well, no, but seriously, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
It was exciting
It was a
to
blast. You
have
guys
you
were
here talking about things.
loads of fun.
You have been 10 loads of fun.
We're gonna have more fun yet today. Heidi's gonna
Oh.
hang out with Lynn and I, and
And we'll bring her back down the road.
absolutely,
We'll get her into the
maybe we'll bring
back
Matt
into
with.
that spot here.
Ugh.
Maybe not.
Get another mic
I'm
set up
just
and bring Matt in.
kidding. That would be fun.
He might get a couple of words in.
He'd like to,
He
throw you
gets
out
more
there.
than his share. I'm quieter when he's around because I just wait for him to say something that I can pounce on.
I'm coming to learn that.
Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for joining us for this week's episode of Boots and Backstraps. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Spotify, Apple, Google Play, all the audio platforms where you
Thank
can find
you
us.
guys
YouTube.
so much. You were a ball. I love you both to
Heidi,
death.
it's great to
Yeah.
have you here, and continued good luck and
Thank you.
success with Hitchville and whatever else you decide to do. I know you'll be successful at it. You're the kind of girl that gets out there and you get after it, and you don't take no for an answer. And
Yeah, indeed.
you've succeeded in so many fields, and I'm extremely proud to be your friend,
Oh,
both on a personal level and on a Christian level. I know
Thank
you and
you.
I share the
Me
same
too.
Christian values, and for those of you that are watching or listening, make sure you check out Hitchville. Wherever they're playing, go on their website.
Yeah, Heidi, let's get some promo here. Where can they find you guys?
welcome to Hitchville is our website.
Yep.
But Facebook, you just look up Hitchville. You Google, you get
Sure.
the HITC, and you're on. We're the first thing that pops up.
You have a
so-
YouTube channel also. It's Hitchville 1, the number 1.
Is it?
Yeah, we just looked it up a few minutes
Why,
ago.
why do I need to promote myself? You know more than I do. Seriously, I have a YouTube channel.
If they Google Hitchville, they're going to find all kinds of stuff about you guys.
That's really neat.
Yeah, there you go.
I should maybe check that out.
We got the,
All I do is
there's the website right there.
I just show up, do some singing, make sure we have a job to go to every once in a while. You know, that kind of thing.
Technology is amazing.
Yes,
When
it
see
is, and
things
I
like
know
that, just
I am horrible at it. I am what you call tech-tarded.
Well, we also want to just remind everybody that's either watching or listening to send emails with questions into bootsandbackstraps@gmail.com. And we'll be filtering through those, and we might even feature some questions on future episodes. So
Who's here next week?
next week, it looks like we've got Kid George
Kid George?
of the Rowdy Cowboy Show to come in.
Oh,
And I suspect he'll be sitting in on a majority of
well,
the
that's
episode.
another
also.
colorful personality right there.
Yeah, he's got big. I tell you what, he's got big boots to fill though. After her sitting over here,
Yeah. Yeah.
My shoes are really little. Look at those.
They are
At
quite
the
small.
5.
Well, everybody, thanks for joining us today. And I want to leave you with a thought. Whether you're belting out your favorite Hitchville song
Yeah.
or pursuing your favorite game, I encourage you to use that same enthusiasm for pursuing the Lord. He'll teach you to shoot straight. We'll see you
Amen.
next week. Come on, man.
Come on now.
Got turned around in a back road town.